Darkcast Network. The light shines brightest on our indie podcasts.
Welcome to Ford in Vegas, a true crime podcast for the ages with two friends who hate each other. I'm Ford. There is no Vegas this week. That's right. It's a solo show, and we have a very special show for you that we have planned. We are going to talk to Debbie and Lori Leonard about the murder of their father and the murder of their mother 52 and 49 years ago, roughly. So we're gonna kick it over to them here in a minute. We're gonna bring them on the show. But if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and don't forget to like the video with a thumbs up. Also, if you're on the go, you can subscribe to this show as a podcast wherever you get your podcast. And if you're already listening to this show on the podcast, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you want to watch this show, you could do so at fordinvegas.com and just click on the YouTube link. This show in podcast form is ad-free for just $3 a month, which goes to supporting the show. Simply go to patreon.com/Ford and Vegas. It's very simple. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Ford and Vegas. And if you want to buy a Ford and Vegas shirt, you could do so at shopfordandvegas.com. For the ladies out there and the men, we recommend selecting premium soft in the t-shirt. It's the highest quality. And we are a proud member of the Darkcast Network, the best indie true crime podcast network on the planet. And we are going to talk today about the murder of John Leonard, the murder at Buck Hill. And we're going to discuss, and we're going to bring on Lori and Debbie to discuss what transpired 52 years ago.
Prepare yourself.
Okay, let's go.
All right, so let's bring in our special guests for the evening, Debbie and Lori Leonard. Or is it Lori and Debbie? Which one's in charge?
Lori, I'm older, but she's bossier.
Listen, first of all, I don't know how many podcasts you guys do, but we don't do a lot of interviews here. In fact, you guys are the first, you ladies are the first ones. So I want to thank you for coming on, first of all, and to tell your story, because I'm sure it is not an easy story to tell.
Thank you. Yeah, this is, I think, our second. Well, we did a Zoom with news last year, I think. Yeah.
During the pandemic.
Yeah, during the pandemic. And then we haven't done any podcasts. And it is a tough story, but we'd like to get anyone out there who might know anything to help us to finally, or to get some information to possibly get it solved. After 52 years for our dad and 50 years for our mom.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna. We'll start there. For anybody who's listening or watching on YouTube, and you guys are unfamiliar with what we're about to talk about, you can Google the murder at Buck Hill Inn. We'll pull up the story, and it's a bizarre story, and we'll dive in here as much as we can in the time that we have. So the first date, I guess, where your lives have changed the first time was September 8th, 1970. So to set the stage here, your father, John Leonard, is a taxi cab driver for Mix Taxi Service out of Pennsylvania, right?
Correct.
Okay. And he's driving his 1966 Plymouth sedan. And he's working, it's probably, if I had to guess, it's probably a day like any other day. And he goes to the Buck Hill Falls Hotel in Barrett Township, which is, from my understanding, no longer there.
Correct.
And I'll let you tell the story there. What happened? Oh, and by the way, this is all going on, and you two are twin sisters who are in your teens, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you're what, 13 at the time?
13 at the time of our dad.
Okay.
Right.
And then there's 3 other siblings, correct?
Right. We had 3 brothers, but they have all since passed.
Okay.
We're the only 2 left.
Okay. And you got to remember, this is 52 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Long.
So, all right. So your dad's working, John, I'm assuming, like I said, it's like a day like any other day. He does a stop here at the Buck Hill Falls Hotel. And from what I understand, a white man with dark hair approaches, and I'll let you take over from there. What happens on September 8th, 1970?
Well, there's different stories we're told, but the story the police have said was a man approached the cab and shot our dad 5 times in the back of his head, mafia style, with a .22 caliber gun. You help me. I apologize. I have a brain injury, so my long-term memory's there, my short-term isn't, so I have to get the right words. I apologize.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, so, and of course, we're at home not knowing anything's going on, and normal day. Actually, it was just after Labor Day, because that was Monday, and then Tuesday this happened. And we were all just at home getting ready to start school on Wednesday. And that happened, and all of a sudden we had neighbors showing up and things like that. And we didn't know the actual story of what had happened, other than our dad, something happened to our dad. Right. And you want to continue? Yeah, you go ahead. And talked to all these neighbors who showed up, and we were still like in zombie land, not knowing what the heck was going on. And waited the rest of the day, and then police officers showed up, and the police chief told us what had happened, that our dad was shot and killed, murdered. And then by that time, I think it hit the news, and then more and more people showed up. And what else? And then go back to what the police told us. You were saying at Buck Hill, so you can go ahead. Well, we're having issues today because the timeline doesn't match from what the police have put in the newspapers. We talked to our dad at like 12:30 that day about school the next day. And then he went on a taxi call, and that was the last we saw him. He never came home. But according to the police reports, which actually we've never seen until this past April, so 52 years later, we finally get a police report after continuing bothering them and begging for them all these years for updates. We finally got it, and we started to read it, and there were so many discrepancies, and the timelines did not match up to what we lived through and knew were accurate and correct. And reading through the report, we find that there's too many inconsistencies with timelines. They're all over the place. And what had actually transpired on down. So in the meantime, we've started to put together timelines from the police report to what we knew, and we found lots and lots and lots of discrepancies. And we're hoping that we can find out from people who are still alive or may know something, what has transpired in truth, to be able to come forward and help us out to try to get it solved. We were hoping that it would be solved before any of the 5 of us kids, because we're all under 16, died. And then after losing our 3 brothers, and it only being the two of us left, we'd still like to have some answers. In the meantime, the person who was at the cab the day of the murder is the same person who then was at the scene when they found her mother dead. And the police, of course, never connected the dots. Yeah. And so they've never even processed our mothers as a full murder. However, when you start to link everything that happened with our dad to our mom, because our mom was waitressing a Rotary dinner at 10 o'clock at night, finished on a Thursday night in February, and 1973. And she called home and said, I have a tip on your dad. I'm going to Mount Pocono to check it out, and then I'll be home. So finally, you know, we, knowing what had happened, we told the police, and they said, well, okay, that makes sense. Somebody lured her out. But the police are not very classifying it as a murder because they had no records whatsoever. And we've come across other issues with they're providing records that never existed, so are made up. And
well, they didn't do a proper investigation, but the police chief who was on the scene for our mom's case when it occurred in 1973 was a friend of our dad's. So he came to our house and told us that both crimes are linked. Our mom's was linked to our dad's, and she was run off the road, and there were another set of car tracks.
So, all right,
and
let's back up to your dad's real quick, just so I could explain to people who don't know about the Buck Hill Falls Hotel. This isn't, or this wasn't, because it no longer exists. This was not a hotel that was, I'm assuming, on a main strip, a main road. This was not, like a Hilton. This was like in the middle of, trees in.
Correct. It was in Barrett Township. It was a beautiful resort in the country, and I believe there was like over 500 rooms in this. There was like 5 floors to the hotel and cottages, and they had swimming pools, every golfing, you name it, indoor and outdoor pools.
So yeah, so it's kind of in the middle of nowhere,
right?
Essentially, yeah.
And
so that's
here's a picture of it. You got to pick it up.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not a place necessarily where you are guaranteed to have a witness.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's probably the snag here.
Now, however, if there was someone looking out, can you see these okay?
Yep.
Of any of the windows, then there would have been.
Right.
So your dad here, you said it was 5 shots in the back of the head?
Yes, mafia style, right.
Mafia style. So was somebody in the car with him, or was it from the back window?
There's discrepancies in that. However, his driver's side window was down.
Okay.
He was sitting there in the front seat, sitting like he was still driving, and the shots in the head.
Was he robbed?
No. Motive was he still had the money on there from that
Taxi.
and then he had his own money in his wallet, and so they ruled out robbery.
So do you think it was a case of they intentionally called your dad there and they were seeking him out? This wasn't like a random act of violence?
Correct. Yeah.
Well, it would have to be if you think that your mother, because we'll get to your mother, if they're linked together, then obviously they would have to be. Who do you think? This is 1970, right? So, is there any? Do you guys have any recollection of any kind of, your dad had an argument, some animosity with anybody? I mean, obviously, it's going to be hard for you to remember, 52 years ago. But do you ladies have any idea who you think it may have been?
We have suspects in mind, and I'll tell you that you can in a second, but our dad was very easygoing, and he'd give the shirt off his back to anyone. He was always helping people. So we feel he didn't have any arguments, and we feel it was a stranger probably, or
it was, well, or with the name we know, who showed up, the same person at the crime scene was at our mom's crime scene, is our main suspect, because he, in our police reports that we've been given, it shows and indicates that he was, because we don't know if he's still alive, we suspect he is, but was an informant for the state police, and
he was a pedophile. So, but he should have gone to jail for his pedophilia stuff, and he didn't.
Based on he was an informant for the state police. And evidently he was tied and linked into the mafia. So, as we've been told several times as well, and suspect, our dad either saw something or heard something he wasn't supposed to have heard or seen, and they had to take him out.
So have you done like a Google search on this guy to see if this guy is still alive?
Yes. And we've also asked the police to also follow up, because there's several names of that person out there, so we don't know if we've got the right one. And we've asked them to track down and see if he's still alive.
Because we have reason to believe he is still alive. However, the police keep coming back and saying, this guy's dead, and they gave us a name of the person and the date. However, he doesn't fit the timeline or the age.
Okay.
So we're telling the police, we don't think that's him, and they just keep saying, yeah.
And if you don't mind me interjecting, this is a sketch that we have never seen until this April, after 52 years, of the suspect sketch.
Oh.
A sketch. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
And there's 2 pages of it.
Yeah.
But it's the first time we ever saw it, and it matches up to the person we also know
as the suspect.
Now it's 1970, and on our show, every week we end the true crime portion of it with like a cold case solved. We like to discuss cold cases being solved, and 99%.
I'm sorry, you blocked out for a minute.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So we like to end every time we do a show, we end with a cold case that's solved. And 99% of the time it's done through DNA. But this is 1970. And we all know that DNA evidence is very scarce. Is there any of that? Is there any kind of, because if the guy you think, do you think this guy who's the pedophile, do you think that he did it, or do you think he had someone do it?
We think he did it, but we think he was hired by the mob
and had an accomplice,
to do it.
So is there any, I'm assuming there isn't, but I'm going to ask anyway. Is there any kind of DNA outside of your father's that exists, or did they even collect it? Because again, it's 1970.
They have evidence still, but have thrown a lot out for whatever reason. They have never tested anything. We have asked over the years when forensic technology came out for them to do that, and nothing has been done to date.
But they did get a fingerprint off the door, and they have evidence for DNA supposedly on the clothes, but when we ask them, they keep saying, we can't find anything. They won't run it for DNA.
It's all a cover up.
Right. And they've also recently told us, the local coroner recently told us he wanted to exhume both bodies so they could retest things. And then the DA and the coroner met and decided it was too expensive. So they said, we won't find any evidence, which we feel is wrong.
Yeah. So okay, so now let's fast forward 3 years, right? Almost
Yeah,
almost 3 years, yeah.
right.
And your mom, her name, did you pronounce it Madeleine?
Yes.
Okay. Your mom, Madeleine Leonard, gets a call, gets a tip. Again, at this point, this is, 2.5 years in. So I'm sure, the wounds are still fresh. Nothing is obviously healed. You guys still want answers. The whole family wants answers, 5 kids and a widow. And your mom gets a tip of some sort and says that she's going to investigate the tip after work. You said she was a waitress. And that's the last time you two talked to her. So set the stage there and what happened that night.
Well, she was waitressing a Rotary dinner on a Thursday night, September 22nd.
No, February
I'm
22nd.
sorry, February 22nd, 1973. And she called us at home. She just finished at 10 o'clock and said, I have a tip on your dad. I'm going to Mount Pocono to check it out. And we said, no, wait, let us go with you. And she said, no, I'll be home. And to finish the conversation, she jokingly said, save me a devil dog. That was her snack. And she said, just go to bed and I'll be there. I won't be long. So she left, didn't come back. We all went to bed because we all had to get up and go to school the next day and that kind of thing. We got up the next morning, she still wasn't home. And we went to school, and Lori and I have that sixth sense since we're twins and we're identical. And we knew something had happened. There was something wrong because she would never not come home.
And then we saw the police cars at the school and we're like, that confirmed it. And it was.
So it's ruled an accident, right? Like the car drives off the road, and is there inclement weather?
Yes, it snowed that morning, probably about half an inch to an inch.
So how does she die? What's the autopsy? Like what's the verdict on that? Like what
Well,
the accident is the one that is what did it?
they did not do an autopsy, which we can't get over to this date. And they just classified it as a car accident and said she had a broken neck. However, in other reports we were given, there was another one, what was it? A crushed left chest. And that's why the coroner that we recently talked to said they wanted to exhume the body because there's a discrepancy with 2
different reports.
Right. So, and he said, no, autopsy was never done.
And the police chief, Robert Hartman at the time was a friend of our dad's, so we knew our family well. And he was the police chief on the scene doing the investigation. And he said when he got there was another set of tire tracks that pushed her off the road down the embankment. Before the car came to a stop, it sheared off 13 huge trees. And the coroner said, absolutely, with the vehicle coming down and doing what it did, there's no way she would have died of a crushed neck.
Right.
And that's why we insisted on an autopsy or an exhumation so that they could, again, reevaluate and find out what the heck had happened. And to this date, nothing.
Who pays for that when they exhume bodies?
The coroners exhumed other bodies and the county pays for it. And the coroner just told us, he goes, that's going to be a little pricey. He doesn't know if the DA would go for it. And we said, after 52 years, we are taxpayers. We've lived here all our life. You owe it to us. And I said, we don't have that kind of money. And his answer was, I agree with you. Then he did a 360 with the DA and just said, there's no reason to exhume the bodies.
After we had this meeting finally this past August, we've never met. They've never reached out to us. We've asked numerous times to meet with the DA and his staff, et cetera, even the state police. So we had a meeting this past August. The DA's office, the assistant DA and several of his people were there, and the coroner was invited. Well, we get there, the coroner goes into the DA's office ahead of us. They invite him in while we're still sitting outside, did not include us. So it's, to me, it's not transparency. Then the DA or the coroner says, no, I don't agree. I don't think we should exhume the body.
Right. So we know.
So they said whatever and worked out another plan to get them all on the same page.
They basically don't want us investigating and
To
won't
find out
give
the
us
truth.
any information. But they did release that report, but we're finding the report, a lot of things were falsified and
But there's so many discrepancies, it's not valid.
right.
So
Yeah. altered.
And I've discovered looking at these, the reports they gave us online, you can see exactly where every report was altered based upon the overrides in the documents.
Yeah, and back in the 70s, you didn't have computers,
yeah.
you had the old typewriters. So you could see they were changed.
So if you had to make a final, if you had to make a judgment on what you think happened, do you feel like this is some sort of cover up by the police to protect whomever is the guy that did it? Is that what we're thinking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he or someone with him or, makes the call to your mom, I'm assuming maybe at her work, and lets her know that there's some sort of something, and then they do what they did that night.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm following.
And that day we didn't have cell phones, so they called her at work.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no cell phones.
Right.
There's really there's no DNA. It's really just based on, fingerprints and eyewitnesses, right?
Right.
And our mom had on a winter coat. And sadly, what they should have done, the police should have given the clothing to us.
They should have released it to the family.
They did not. They gave it to some other man who's actually also involved with mafia at the
Right,
time.
right. And to this date, we have not gotten the coat back, and we were told there was blood on it, which
Indicates to us there's another reason to do the exhumation
right.
so that we can see what really happened.
Man. And I mean, this is 52 years ago, with your father, and we're, I mean, we're running short on time when it comes to finding people that were alive that will know or have maybe saw something or know something or, you guys, I could tell that, you don't want to say the name of the person that you think it was. And is there I'm not saying I want to know. I could tell that you're kind of like dancing around it. Is there a reason why?
No, I mean, it's in the police report and it specifically states in the police report, this guy's a pedophile. He's also an informant with the state police.
And why is he there?
Exactly. Thank you. He was arrested once outside of Philly or somewhere along there for being a pedophile, and they let him go. He got bailed out because he was a state police informant.
So when you say a state police informant, is that somebody who goes undercover? What does he do? What does that mean?
Undercover.
Yeah. Okay. So he works for the police.
Right. Plus, he was also a drug dealer. He was selling drugs in our area.
Yeah.
Okay. And you ladies are still living in this area.
Correct.
Yes.
You never got out.
No.
Why?
Well, because we want answers.
Okay.
And because all our family's in the cemetery that's here, and
That makes sense.
we want to bring whoever it was to justice and finally get some peace. Our dad was a World War II veteran.
Mhm.
And POW.
And a POW under the worst prison camp under Hitler for 2 years. And and our mother was a
Gold Star mom. She lost a son in Vietnam.
So with
And-
that, we don't want their memories forgotten, but we know there's people around here that still know the truth, that are still living. And we know that because we've contacted people who have said, oh yeah, we'll talk to you. And then they do a 360 and say, nope, can't help you now.
Yeah.
So we don't know who got to them to say, no, you can't tell, whatever.
Right.
So we just like to have it resolved and peace of mind for us.
And justice for our parents, especially.
Exactly.
They serve this country and they both deserve to have justice.
Have you tried to take it to the next level? Have you tried to reach? I know our federal government leaves a lot to be desired, but the fact that your father did serve in the war and was a veteran, have you tried reaching out to the next level out of where you guys live? I'm sure,
Yes.
obviously.
We have contacted probably, I'm going to say 15 legislatures over the years, and they just passed the buck. Oh, we'll help you. We'll check into it. And it comes back to, sorry, can't help you. Talk to the state police. Then secondly, we have gone to the FBI. We went in August of this year to the FBI. We physically went to the building in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and they turned around and would not see us. They said, you got to call back to make an appointment. We called back to try to make an appointment. We left messages and they will not contact us. So you just feel like, why are we blocked?
It's almost like they want us just to say, throw up our hands and say, enough.
I figure if they put enough blockers in front of you, eventually your frustration level will just get so high that you'll just say, for the lack of a better term, fuck it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what they want us to do, but we're not going away.
We're persistent.
No,
It's not
you
going to
ladies
happen.
are not going to say fuck it. Clearly,
Right.
you are still fighting the fight.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I heard about this last year. I saw a story. I don't even know how I found it. But I found it and I kind of like tucked it away and then we reached out to see if we can get you ladies on the show because it's a fascinating story. And I'm familiar with Pocono from my time in New York. A lot of the people take weekends. We'll go to the Poconos and they go to the Poconos. So kind of like when I saw it, I was like, oh, I know the Poconos, and then this whole thing. So, yeah, I mean, for John and Madeleine Leonard, and for you two and your three, I'm assuming younger brothers.
No, we had two older
Okay.
and then one younger. So
Okay.
my brother Kevin at the time was 16 and Johnny was 15. We were 13 and Timmy was 12.
And I'm showing you a picture. This is us all grown up in 1980, the five of us,
Yeah.
but
Now it's only us two.
now it's only
Yeah.
us.
Well, hopefully, I'm hoping that you ladies can get some answers. I can't even begin to imagine what any of this would even feel like. And I commend you. There you go.
That's when we were little with both our parents.
Yeah.
All five of us.
I mean, your dad was 50 at the time, right?
He was 52.
He was
52.
52 and this was 52 years this past September.
Right.
8th. Yeah.
Well, again, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show here and telling us, or telling me, because Vegas isn't here, it's just me this week. But thank you for sharing your story. And I hope that, I don't know how it can happen, but I hope that someday you ladies get the answers that you want. And you seem like you know who was involved. I can tell that you seem like you have a very good idea.
Well,
And hopefully he's still alive.
And we suspect he is, but we put so much time and effort into this, more so because after finally seeing the police report, like I said, after 52 years and seeing so much discrepancy and made up nonsense and the lies, we want to be able to hopefully get it for our parents resolved and have their good names out there. Whereas
they're trying to discredit them and make them look like they deserve this, which is wrong.
No, it just, judging by what you've said about John, and it doesn't sound like he deserved any of this. And your mom obviously definitely didn't. All she was trying to do was find out who did that to your father. And
Right.
I mean, it's whew, what a story. I'll thank you both for coming on. And if anything ever changes, Lori, I expect an email. And again, thank you for coming on and telling the story. I know doesn't get easier. So thank you very much. And I wish nothing but the best. And I wish answers for you both.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
We appreciate your time and doing this podcast for us.
Thank you.
We like people to hear it and maybe have information that can help us.
Well, the next time we talk, it's going to be because there's a conclusion.
We're all for that.
And our fingers crossed for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Have a good one, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program to bring you a special bulletin.
Listen up. It's time for Ragin' Rob's Music Minute.
You do want to be a part of that, don't you?
Hey, gobble, 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 motherfuckers. This is going to be, I believe, the last show before Thanksgiving. I hope everybody has a very happy Turkey Day. This is Ragin' Rob with your Music Minute. All right, so I'm going to try to make this short. I did lose my voice earlier this week. On Monday, I attended the Hatebreed show in Portland, Oregon, which was amazing. It was about my 15th time seeing Hatebreed. They were one of my top 3 live bands of all time. If you've never seen them, you fans in California this weekend, they're there. Starting tonight, Thursday, they're in San Francisco. Friday, they're in Vegas. Saturday, they're in Anaheim. And Sunday, they're in San Diego. All those shows are with Bleeding Through, who's another phenomenal band. And they haven't played shows in a long time, except for a couple festivals. So check out the Hatebreed show, you California crazy metalheads. They are amazing. Check it out. All right, so according to music site NME, music fans are listening to more music than ever before. Fans are spending an average of 20.1 hours a week listening to music. Of course, streaming services play a huge role in that, as 46% of fans reported choosing music streaming service as their popular way of listening to music. I'm all about it. I do a music minute here on the show. I love music. It's a huge part of my life, and I think for most of us, it's a mental and physical well-being thing. So whatever you listen to, I'm a metalhead. I listen to all kinds of stuff. Whatever you listen to, keep on doing it. It brings a lot happiness and joy to everybody. So it's great to hear that everybody's listening to music. That's great. All right, now on to big news of the week, Taylor Swift. So the Taylor Swift pre-sale broke Ticketmaster. There's a lot of thousands and thousands of very unhappy people. The whole pre-sale code thing did not really go very well. There's a lot of very upset fans. Tickets, secondhand market ticket sales are absolutely asinine. I've seen floor seats for up to $15,000. Craziness. Now, Taylor obviously is the biggest artist on the planet right now. I don't think any other artist could have this kind of demand for tickets. Now, I jumped on for the Capital One pre-sale just to see what the face value tickets would be at. It looks like about floor seats face value is about $750. Your 100 level is around $400, $450. Then your 200, 300 level is somewhere between $300 to $100. Somewhere around there. So tomorrow is the general sale of the tickets. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. local time. You want to get on early if you want your shot at Taylor Swift tickets. I'm excited. I know I'm going. I'm taking my kid. I'm taking as many people as I can because that show is going to be fucking phenomenal. So look forward to that. But to all the fans out there that are heartbroken, not being able to afford spending thousands of dollars on tickets, I get it. I have my own personal limit on what I would spend. So it sucks. But she is the biggest artist on the planet, and these secondary markets that cheat and rob and steal from people. It's sick. It's wrong. It's disgusting. I hate it, but stick in there, stick with it, and hopefully you get your chance to see T-Swizzle next year. In the Grammys, they announced their nominations. It will take place on February 5th on CBS, and like all music award shows nowadays, it's a lot of trash. So some Record of the Year nominations, Record of the Year, ABBA, Adele, Beyonce, and Lizzo, Harry Styles. Song of the Year, All Too Well, 10-minute version, Taylor Swift, About Damn Time, Lizzo, trash, and ABDC, ABCDFU, that fucking song, sure. Also, Machine Gun Kelly is on the list for Best Rock Album. Finally, Travis Scott is making his U.S. festival return. He will play the Rolling Loud California Festival 2023 with future Playboy Cardi to headline as well. I don't like it. I think Travis Scott should be banned from every festival and really shouldn't have a music career at all anymore. But we know, rules for thee, not for me, all that shit. All right, that's been your Music Minute. I hope my voice doesn't suck too bad. Have a happy Thanksgiving and fucking rage.
Thank you, Ragin' Rob, for that Music Minute. And that will do it for this edition of Ford in Vegas, a true crime podcast for the ages with two friends who hate each other. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on the podcast, don't forget the subscribe button. Patreon.com/Ford and Vegas. You get this show ad-free in podcast and video form for just $3 a month. Also, Twitter and Instagram @Ford and Vegas. Buy a Ford in Vegas shirt. Shop FordInVegas.com. And lastly, we are a proud member of the Darkcast Network, the best indie true crime podcast network on the planet. Check them out. I'm Ford. We'll see you guys next time right here on Ford in Vegas, a true crime podcast for the ages with two friends who hate each other. We'll see you next time.